BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. So whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selections of odds on everything from NFL football to the NBA, college basketball, NHL, and UFC. BetOnline is the number one sport betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers to hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bleav in Bengals podcast. Yours truly, Solomon Wilcots. Right now, we're joined by two-time Super Bowl champion, my former CBS colleague, and the pride of Morehead State, Phil Simms, joining us on the Bleav in Bengals podcast. Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing well. You know what? Morehead State had a winning record this year in football, so I feel good talking about them. You know, they pulled it out, 6-5.
Hey, look, it's not the Phil Simms days anymore. Look, your name still rings out around here. Every time your name comes up with somebody I'm talking to, they be like, well, you know, he went to Morehead State. You know, he's from around here, just across the river in Kentucky. So they still remember you fondly around here, Phil. You were big time, weren't you?
Hey, listen, Solomon, are you ready?
Yeah.
I won 2. Here are my 4 years at Morehead State.
Okay.
2, 3, 2, 2.
No.
Yes.
Dude, you were like a 7th overall pick in the first round. That's what I read. How does a guy go from Morehead State, top 10 pick? You don't go to just any team. You go to the New York Giants with Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. Yeah. They had to like go right into the thicket to find you and get you out of there.
Hey, you know how it is. There's a story to it. There was a high school coach in Louisville who went to he was at Morehead State for 1 year, my freshman year. Then he went to the University of Kentucky. All the scouts were at Kentucky looking at the juniors, who's going to come out. We want to see him. And the scout says to Bill Glazer is his name. He said, I don't want to go to Morehead. They don't have anybody. And Bill Glazer goes, no, I think you better go.
You better.
And he goes, really? He goes, yep, you better go. There's a quarterback down there. So I worked out for him. And they basically said this, and when it was over, goes the coach, get coffee and donuts ready. You're going to be flooded every single day when we put this report out. So that's how it happened. Yeah. So it was fun. And I won't get into all this stuff.
Yeah. I think it's a great story.
Awesome. I loved it.
It's a great story, by the way, because I'm reading, and Bill Walsh wanted to take you.
Twice
twice Bill Walsh came to see you. That's pretty big. That's high praise. Well, look, you lived up to the promise. You went on to collect a couple of Super Bowls. You had one of the greatest games I know I'd ever seen in a Super Bowl. When a guy completes 88% of his passes, what were you, 22 of 25?
Yeah.
Super Bowl 21, right?
Right. Yep. I don't know what to say about it. You know, just it felt right. No, I'm really serious. And, you know, I always tell people this, and Joe Burrow, here we go.
That's right.
Brown is playing when Joe Burrow got hurt last year. And somebody asked him a question. He goes, well, I've learned from Joe just to be calm, only think about the play, don't get emotional, boom, boom, whatever. And I just went, that's how I played in the Super Bowl. But I didn't do that very often. I always was
too much going on, thinking about this, thinking about
mad
that.
About this, I'm mad about that. God dang, shut up, crowd. You know, what the hell do you know? Everything. So, we're always geniuses after the fact. But that was that day. I was just playing.
Yeah.
And when it was over, I literally was like, wow, really? I didn't I did that well. So, you know, that's how I think. Did you have the same experience when you just play and you don't get emotional?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a great thinker and you apply it. I mean,
it's just working for you. But that's why the multitude had to go out to Morehead State to watch a young Phil Simms work out. They were right. Hey, speaking of having something work out, Joe Burrow has been an absolute blessing to the city of Cincinnati and to that football team. Look, Phil, he may not win the MVP award for 2024, but he certainly played like one.
Yeah, he played awesome. You know, I kind of know Lou Anarumo somewhat through the years and everything. So I always kind of watch the Cincinnati games if I don't get to them on Monday, I do on Tuesday.
There you go.
But, Joe Burrow, physically, there's many things about him. It's rookie year. I'm on CBS, and I said, look, he's the new generation of Joe Montana. He's the modern day version. Yeah. He's a little more athletic and all these things, but time has gone on, and so the quarterbacks just keep getting better. Yeah. And of course, he did not like that comparison.
He didn't like it.
That's a little over the top. But it's what he reminded me of. He's so smooth throwing the ball. He's smooth in everything he does. The way he comes into the game, the way he is, in his outfits, how he acts on the field. He never gets flustered, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing about here's the biggest thing. I always look about this with quarterbacks. Maybe not as much now because these guys come in the league really ready. Mm-hmm. But how much do you improve throwing the football from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah.
Because when you play in the NFL, no matter who you are, there's always going to be some adjustments. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, I think his second year, they were in Kansas City, right? His second year?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm standing behind him, watching him warm up, and I'm talking to some of the coaches. I go, Joe's putting a little more heat on that thing. And they go, yeah, he's got his arm. And they're all excited, of course. Yeah, our boy's getting better. And he was really, I noticed a big difference, and it's kind of gone that way. Every year he gets physically a little better. And, of course, he's a great thinker on the field, too, as we all know.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We see year over year him improving. All right, Phil, here, look, I got to ask you about Joe Burrow as a competitor. How would you rate him as a competitor, and why does that matter?
Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Hey, it means basically everything to him. Mm. And of course, when Solomon, I don't know, and I'm being honest here, I never could be in the space that he's in because I wasn't as good as him. So, when you're that good, it's like you want to display it. And I really mean that. I mean, come on. I'm watching the damn game down in when they're playing the Dallas Cowboys this year. Yeah. Then all of a sudden I think Troy Aikman, or maybe I heard it later. Yeah. On the outcuts that the wide receivers are running, he would throw to their back hip so they could catch it and spin out and, go, which it actually ended up winning the game for him. I think it was to Jamar Chase.
Yes, it was.
And I go, those 12-yard outs, which are to me the hardest throw in the NFL for a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, he caught it. I wasn't throwing it back hip and this. I mean, that just shows you. And then maybe that's not a great example of where it was and where they've gone to with these quarterbacks just being so accurate. And I think Joe Burrow, honestly, is probably the most accurate thrower of the football in the NFL.
Yeah. And look, to me, you were always taught the quarterbacks don't throw it inside because you throw it to the back hip, that's inside. You and I both know that could turn into a pick six in a minute, but he trusts his talents at that level to be able to make that throw, and he's done it time and time again. I want to ask you about just where you think he stands statistically, at least this last year. We talked about he gets better and better every year. You have 4 straight games for 300 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He had 8 straight games with 250-plus yards and 3 touchdown passes. Just one thing after another. And he ends up being the passing leader this year, over 4,000 yards, almost 5,000 for the year. Right. He just seems to be more methodical in terms of what he's doing year over year to improve his game.
Well, there's many things in that. He becomes a great decision maker because he knows when he throws it, he's throwing it where he wants the ball to be.
Yeah.
And that to me is the biggest thing. When you have great control of that football, which he does, that you're a great decision maker. I always say it, when you control the football, you see it, you believe it, you complete it. And that's how it goes. And that's where he is. And the other thing is too, I say this all the time. I'm on my podcast with my son, Matt, and I say it everywhere I go. Yeah. He's the most powerful thrower of the football with the least amount of effort I've ever seen in the NFL.
Good point.
No, I mean, it really is. It's real. Yeah. His power is sneaky, but it's like, damn, could you just make it look a little harder? Do you have to make it look so easy? And I've noticed that. I think this year it kind of caught me by surprise as I was watching a couple games. I went, damn, that was a big time power throw down the field, and it looks like he didn't even try. So it just shows us all this: how much he loves what he's doing, how much he works at it, and he's applying it really well on the field, of course.
I know you called a lot of Peyton's game. You and we spent a lot of time with Peyton over the course of our careers. And I remember talking to Peyton Manning and say, hey, when do you risk the ball? When do you just know that you have to take a chance on a certain throw, even though that defense is dangerous? He said, when my defense is playing well, I take fewer risks. When my defense isn't playing well, I'm going to take more risks because I know we can't punt the ball here. Because if we punt it and I'm not getting it back, given what Joe Burrow had to work with defensively this year, this is not to take a shot at the Bengals defense, but he had to play with that mindset pretty much all year. How difficult is that feel?
The head coach is going to help you do that. And they know too that we just got to put the pedal to the metal. We got to go.
That's right.
And is it difficult? There is a point it can be, but I think overall, especially for him and watching their offense and all that, the more they throw, to me, the better they get.
That's right.
And, and Zach Taylor standing on the sideline, I don't know if he said it or whatever. He looks at that play sheet and he looks at Joe Burrow and he goes, got to throw it again. And
that's right.
Why are we going to waste the play? I mean, we got
right.
And, somebody said, Zach Taylor could be in trouble. I said, no, he's not.
No way.
And they go, well, why are you so sure? I said, because he's calling the plays for Joe Burrow. He created this offense.
That's right.
Joe Burrow's running. They're not going to get rid of this offense because their defense had a tough year. So
That's right.
Yeah, it's really an interesting thing. But I did play in some of those circumstances.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's awesome.
It's know. Awesome. It's got to be.
We're going to let it go? Oh, you want me to take some chances? Well, I always thought I was a chance taker throwing the ball, so I'll just be a little more aggressive.
I tell Bengals fans, I said, well, look, I know a lot of people want to blame the defense, but you might, if you're looking at the numbers of Jamar Chase, the first player in NFL history with 1,700 receiving yards and 17 or more touchdowns in a single season, Joe Burrow doing things that we hadn't seen before. I already cited some of the numbers. If we had a great defense, we wouldn't have an offense that was so prolific. I don't know that you'd be throwing it all over the park. You may dial it back a little bit, but because you have to play that way, it's kind of pushed the envelope offensively. So it's a real fun thing to watch. I got to ask you this.
Well, you know what? Let me say, but you're right about that. If the defense is playing better, they're going to play a different style of offense. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes to put up those astronomical numbers like he did. Yep. It was the right situation, his talent, the play calling, the play design. But you're 100% right. The defense that definitely struggled.
And look, and I think when you have to push it, I think it shows the true mettle of this quarterback of Joe Burrow when everyone in the ballpark know he's going to throw it, know that he has to throw it, and he's still going right down the field and putting the ball into the end zone. Phil, if you were a general manager, if you were a coach, you had Joe Burrow as your quarterback, and you're trying to be a winner now, what kind of team did you build around him? What is it going to take?
What do you mean as far as the whole team? Well, listen.
Win a championship, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the offense is borderline. It's okay, whatever, however we look at it, just because of the production. But, Solomon, to me, it always starts in two areas, and I'm sure you talk about it constantly. You need a really good to solid offensive line. Yeah. When you look at the playoffs every year, you go down the list of everybody that makes it, and almost every one of them, they might have just a solid offensive line or the top of the heap. They're a top 5 offensive line always.
That's right.
But also, it's the same with defense. To me, it always starts. I just talk about this, and I've learned from coaches. Your defense has got to start with those 2 guys inside.
Yeah.
And as a old coach, Earl Leggett, I had him one year with the New York Giants. He said, Sims, your defense can only be good if you have 2 tush hogs right there in the middle. And I just go, what do you mean tush hogs? He goes, I'm telling you, when you stand behind them, you can show a double feature on their rear ends. That's what you need inside to start your defense. And it is kind of true. And it's a cliche, but we got to stop the run before we do anything else. And that's why you need those two guys inside, which the Bengals at time have had. And the big problem is just keep them healthy.
Yeah, and being consistent with the team that you have around them. Look, one last question before we let you go. And some of this you kind of already guessed, but I listened to some of the more accomplished quarterbacks that our league has seen. I've heard of Steve Young talk so glowingly about Joe Burrow, yourself included, and Troy Aikman absolutely loves him. Why do you think Joe Burrow's game resonates with so many quarterbacks like yourself, the guys, some of the great quarterbacks that this game has seen?
Well, I'm not in that class, but I think almost everybody looks at it and goes, damn, I wish I was as good as that. No, I'm being really serious. But, in this day and age, these guys and these quarterbacks, and they work so much, and it's just so fine-tuned. And also, of course, Joe Burrow has the best wide receiver in the NFL, and Jamar Chase. He's number one. If you want to argue, man, let's bet on it because I'm going to win. And
no, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's no doubt. But I think everybody sees what he's doing, and it's kind of what we talked about. He makes it look so easy, and he really is. He's Joe Cool. And I don't care if he gets mad I say these things. I'm going to say it anyway.
That's right.
But,
that's right.
And I look at some of their plays, and I remember watching Joe Montana as we'd have film that they played a team. We're going to play them the next week. So I'd watch a few of watch the 49ers, and I go, man, he is truly Joe Cool. And when he played, as I watched their offense, I was, of course, somewhat jealous of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not exaggerating. Joe Burrow has a lot of those exact same plays that Bill Walsh was running back in 79 and the early 80s.
Yes.
And it's amazing. It might be a different formation to try to fool you, all that other stuff.
Same concept. Yeah.
What a connection between Joe Montana and Joe Burrow. It's really true. Physically, and of course, the system they're running are almost the same.
We should let people know, because it was Jim McVay, Sean McVay's grandfather, who was the general manager of those 49er teams, that hired Bill Walsh from Cincinnati after he had been the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. And Sean McVay, of course, as the head coach of the Rams, Zach Taylor came to us from those Rams teams. So what you're seeing, Phil, is 100% real. There is no doubt about it. And look, I can't believe that I'm sitting here saying that the Cincinnati Bengals in 2024 had the game's leading passer, had the game's leading receiver. You already talked about Jamar Chase, and the leading pass rusher. Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks, and a team that didn't even make the playoffs, Phil. I don't know that we ever seen anything like it before.
Well, we have. We saw something I think was really extraordinary for the Bengals years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. And why was it extraordinary? I'm don't want to say it, but this makes my point. They probably had the worst offensive line in the NFL.
That's true. It's not even probably. They did.
I mean, come on. That was the circumstances that Joe Burrow played in that game.
Yeah.
It was wicked. And, he got rid of – I know this. We've talked about him a little. Bill Walsh, he worked me out twice, and he just kept – I won't go into all the imitations. Mm-hmm. But how happy you think he would have been to coach Joe Burrow? Because Bill Walsh was – as I was throwing for him in my first workout, I'm just ripping it. And I'm going, damn, I got it today, man. I'm throwing this thing great. And he goes, ho, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. You don't want to see this? He goes, no, I want it. And he puts his hand up and goes, I want it to be pretty.
Did he say that? Did he say that?
I want it to be beautiful. He's going on, and I'm like, and I'm just going, man, everybody wanted to see the same thing when they worked me out. Just throw the damn thing as hard as you can. I want to see you rip it here. And Bill Walsh, no. And I'm easing up, and finally the damn ball is like, and he goes, oh, that's beautiful.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
He did it with Joe Montana, it would fit him great. And of course, we're just seeing the modern day Joe Montana and Joe Burrow, which I've already said, and it's very true.
I will give Bill Walsh credit with this. He went and got Steve Young, and it was pretty. It was pretty, right? It was what
a
he
little
did
different.
with Steve Young. It was yeah, it was a little different. It was good. It was good. Hey, Phil, you're the best, my friend. We appreciate you taking the time, okay?
Okay, Solomon, thank you so much. Good seeing you. And we had some good days at CBS, but got to admit, I'm enjoying my life now, maybe even a little more. There's no slap at CBS, people. It's fun just having the open forum to always talk about what you want to talk about.
I still remember, if I can tell this, I still remember night before the Super Bowl, Phil Simms brings in the nice old age bottle of bourbon and a hand-rolled cigar for his good friend Solomon Wilcots.
Yes.
And we watched tape. We did what football guys do. You were the best, man. Your stock went up like it.
Of course.
Like it was shares of Google.
That's funny. That's funny.
I wish you all the best. Thank you for joining us here on the Bleav in Bengals podcast.
All right. Thanks for having me on.